light. Does this light work? Oh, here we go. Excellent. Wow. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Herbie Baumgartner. I'm the Applied Studies Coordinator here at SCI-Arc. And it is my pleasure to introduce Brooke Walbuck and welcome her to SCI-Arc. Brooke is the Director of Business Development at HKS Architects in Los Angeles. And we are super excited to have her speak to us about the business, not the movie business, but the business of architecture. When Brooke and I first talked, I described to her that the students are really very hungry for this, especially in a school that's so heavily focused on design, and where the business side of things is often put on the sidelines. And this is not because we don't think it's important, quite the opposite. We know how pivotal one's capacity to find the right kind of client work can be for an architect's career. But there is a sense of mystery and maybe also being intimidated around the subject for students and faculty alike. So we're thankful that Brooke will hopefully shed some light on this for us today. Students do want to know how one does start their own business and what kind of architect one wants to be and where one will get the clients from. What is one's market niche, and how does one position himself as an architect to potential clients, and how does relationship building work? So many questions. Brooke does many of these things in her role as Director of Business Development for HKS. Her primary focus is on private development focused on mixed use, housing, hospitality, and commercial. She is responsible for developing successful business strategies for new client engagements and elevated market presence for her firm. She has led business development for several organizations in the LA area for the past 9 years. Brooke currently serves on the board of directors and as chair of the programs committee for the Los Angeles Headquarters Association, the board of directors of Westside Urban Forum, and is an active member of the Los Angeles Business Council, Central City Association, and the Urban Land Institute. We are very excited and grateful that Brooke will give us the peek behind the curtain, and we'll have I think a 45-minute lecture, something with some Q&A at the end. And so without further ado, I want to welcome Brooke to SCI-Arc. Thank you.
Thank you for that incredible introduction, Herwig, and it's such a true honor to be here. I really can't thank you enough for the opportunity. So I'm Brooke Walbuck with HKS, as you know, Director of Business Development. Let me get started. So I would like to begin by just having a moment of honesty here, being real with you all. I am not an architect. So how in the world am I out working in the business of architecture doing business development? I'll back up a little. My career began in real estate in Oregon before coming to California. Had a wonderful time until the massive crash of 2007 when everyone decided not to buy houses anymore. I found myself starting over completely, moving to Los Angeles, and becoming inspired to go to design school and pick a new path. So it was a second career. I chose a fast-track program downtown Los Angeles. There was very exciting things happening in that year, in that time, and so off I went into my new life of becoming an interior designer. Little did I know that becoming a designer, fledgling in the city of Los Angeles, was a much different experience than being a real estate broker. I missed working with people. I missed that connection. I missed that hunt. And I was recruited in 2012 out of design and into a business development role for a contract furniture company. Of course, I felt that this would be the death of me as a designer, that I couldn't possibly consider it until they wanted to double my salary and pay me commission. So that also allowed me to step out and really become more connected to the design community of Los Angeles at large, which was much more fulfilling for me than the design work that I was working on in luxury interiors. My path to working for one of the largest architecture firms in the world is unconventional. Again, I'm not an architect, but those pieces of my past and my story do come together and have supported me very well in the 3 years that I've been with HKS now. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you again, and I'm really looking forward to sharing some insight with you. A little bit about where I work. HKS is a global firm. We've got about 1,350 employees globally. We have 23 offices around the world, and we are headquartered in Dallas, Texas. Part of the reason that they reached out to me to talk about a business development role was that we really struggle with that big behemoth Dallas, Texas image that doesn't really work in Los Angeles. So there was an opportunity there to come in and help and really be boots on the ground to enhance their presence and help them win different types of work. Let's see, LA and London are our second and third largest offices, and then of course we're largely interdisciplinary. Projects around Los Angeles that we have done that you might be familiar with are the W Hotel in Hollywood, as well as SoFi Stadium down in Inglewood. So what is business development? What does that mean? Do we sell architecture? Do we sell building design? Do we give it away? No. How do you find and win work? Who do you have to know? Who has the work? Can it advance my career? Nobody wants to be sold, right? I mean, that a salesperson, all these horrible images of car salesmen enter your brain, and that's just really not what it's about, especially not in a very sophisticated design community of Los Angeles. Business development is integral to the success of any firm, no matter how large or small. It can be done in many different ways and structured very uniquely. In the next 40 minutes or so, I'll share with you some insights on things that have worked for us in a larger firm format, and hope that that's helpful for you guys. What it really comes down to are three buckets. In a combined discipline of research, your network, and strategy. So with your research, knowing your market, knowing what's going on, seeing things coming, your network, building those relationships throughout your career. It's never too soon. You know, you really want to start working and meeting people, building your tribe, so to speak, throughout your career. And then strategy is how do you put those things to work effectively? How do you make that happen and move the needle forward? One thing that I would like to clarify that I think is a struggle with all architecture firms on earth is the difference between marketing and business development. They are absolutely yin and yang. They work together very closely, but are two very separate roles. Marketing being primarily internally focused. They are focused on deliverables, on graphics, on quals packages, RFPs, proposals, what have you. Because they're doing that, they're heads down, they're at their desk, they're working with their teams all the time. That leaves very little additional room for going out, making relationships, and being out and about in the market. So with business development, our focus is on strategy. We are holders of the key relationships on all sides of projects. We can really guide and shape the response to things. And we are externally focused, never at our desk, never in one place long, always on the hunt. So in building that, you really start to focus on building a pipeline, right? And where does architecture, where does design fall in the overall food chain of the project world in real estate development? While consultants and partners are very close friends and great allies in finding work, they can sometimes tend to be more focused on chasing the project as opposed to the relationship. There's an given for a lifetime and go for a lifetime if you do it well, if you can deliver. So these are key, elements, just a few examples of, you need to really be thinking about this as a hive, so to speak, of, your project chasing, your relationships, consultant partners, identifying appropriate targets. What types of projects are you prepared to deliver well? What is your niche market? That is something that really is at the heart of beginning a business development process and having a successful business. And all in all, it all comes down to the strength in your relationships. It's really at the heart of a successful business. Building your personal brand as you guys graduate, as you get out into the world and really start to make a name for yourself. LinkedIn is one avenue on this professional social media, but what are the others? You guys know this better than anyone. Tell your story, what gives you your competitive edge. That's definitely something that you want to carefully craft and create, to become more well-known and have more influence. Research, again, a critical piece. I mean, this is something you want to stay, of course, in the know to all of your design trends and publications and things like that, but make time to know what's going on in the real estate and development world. In architecture, unfortunately, when you're reading about a new building and there's a rendering there, it's already designed. So how do you get ahead of that? How do you get further up the stream, up the food chain, and find out about those things first, so that published rendering is yours? Network. Your people, your relationships. Who do you need to know? Real estate. You really want to build relationships with developers, brokers, project managers, consultants, your engineers, your general contractors, and so on. Land use. Where does the land change hands? That's a great place to be as an architect with a business who needs work. They're going to put something on that land, and it would be great for you to be first in line. And political, how do you navigate, especially in Los Angeles, the very challenging and complex entitlement process? A balance, that it's not all cocktail parties and events and awards. It really is a blend of taking the time after you're out and meeting new people and getting out there in the market to stop and document. Utilize, probably if you're going to work for another firm, there's going to be a CRM like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, where you need to track and document who you're meeting, what you're doing, and what your follow-ups are. Because if you don't take the time and really manage your time to have this discipline, it will be lost. You won't be effective. It'll be, oh, you're another person standing, at a party with a cocktail in your hand, but where was the last project you won? When was the last meeting you had? So really, establishing that discipline for yourself is key. Myself, I probably am about 50-50. Half of my time I'm out and about trying to meet people, set up new meetings, presentations, pursuits, and half of the time I am heads down, do not talk to me, do not look at me. I've got to organize all of this and figure out how we move it forward. Visibility. This is also something very important. Sorry for the creepy photo. This is like the big eye in Dallas, Texas. I just had to throw it in there. Speaking engagements, finding those opportunities. Today, great example. This is something I'm so appreciative for the opportunity to come and do this. do things like this. You know, if you can get on a panel, if you can share your thoughts, your work, your perspective, absolutely never turn that down. You want to build your presence and start to make a name for yourself. Professional organizations. Herwig was kind and patient to read all the organizations that I'm involved in here in Los Angeles. Those are my lifeblood. I have made such incredible friends and partners and clients and just allies throughout my entire career through being a part of those and making extra time to dedicate there. Industry events, those are, you know, great to do as they make sense. I try to do those with purpose. I try to really identify who will be there that would be beneficial to meet or know, meet them and follow up and get a meeting with them. It's not, again, about going around and standing around with cocktails. Serving on a board, you know, that's a really meaningful way to contribute to your community, to the real estate industry, to the design community. Highly recommend that experience as you guys are getting out into the world and working. So a story about the power of relationships would be this small 3.1 million Mr. Kroenke knew our sports team. He was negotiating with the city of St. Louis, and that was not going very well. He was not feeling like they were able to really deliver what he envisioned for the new Rams stadium. And he happened to have a small 300 or 400 acre plot of land in Inglewood. He invited HKS to come in and do a study and work with him, and really confirmed his feelings and that wasn't going to be suitable for his vision and the investment he was looking to place. So that shifted, and they came out to Inglewood, and that was always an HKS project that never went out to bid. So billionaire friends help quite a bit in those instances, but you can, of course, apply that to all different scales, that if you can really establish and get in and build that credibility, people will take you with them. So when you are in the wonderful world of the pursuit, my absolute favorite thing on earth, it's exciting. And so that begins with, sorry, my text is very small here, identifying, it's very big up here, so I'm going to look up here. Correct targets. So identifying who you want to go after, what makes sense, what you can actually deliver. Nothing's going to hurt your business more than going out and winning a project that you fail at or that you get fired from, obviously. So you really want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success, identifying the appropriate targets. That will lead to a project lead. Hopefully, that will then lead to an RFP or a design competition. At that point, within our firm, we huddle. We get together with the key leaders of the project that will be, and we do extensive go, no go. And it's a pretty formal process, actually, but we really want to make sure that we take a look at all aspects of, you know, our probability of winning, the potential spend in going after this. Who do we have available? You know, all of those questions. And there's quite a matrix that we pull together to then decide collectively, yes, we're all over this, we're going for it, or pass. We're not going to be successful. Let's see. So another point that I would like to share there is that it is really the architect in that instance that has to be the closer of the pursuit. Business development will tee it up, support it, contribute as we can to, you know, the creative direction and help with the relationships on all sides, but I can't deliver you a building design. I cannot hand you a set of plans personally. So it is really the architect that has to step in and win the work. So in business development, there are kind of two different models with different firms. based on size, based on overhead investment, and just how they're structured. There's what we call the seller-doer. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this term. And then there's individuals like myself who are 100% business development. So with the seller-doer, you have a principal or a leader. They're running projects, they're running studios, and they are also expected to do all of this extracurricular stuff, serve on boards, go out, be in the community, do the wining and dining and all of this. And it's very exhausting. So that is challenging to find the time in most cases for business development. And however, they are the closer, they are the subject matter expert. So who better than to really promote and win and achieve the work than the actual principal or design leader? In my case, dedicated BD, I am not billable at all. I am 100% overhead. Side note, it's very interesting entering a global pandemic when you are 100% overhead and you are just 1 year into your fledgling new career as a business development professional at a global design firm. I thought I was toast. I thought, immediately 2 weeks into the pandemic, my life and dream career were over. And knock on wood, here I am. It's worked out so far. Our firm is large. They have the ability to invest in that overhead, and they value the business development support that myself and my team bring to our firm, and couldn't be more thankful for that. I am 100% focused on finding opportunities. That is PR opportunities, project opportunities, new introductions, you name it, everything. Writing articles, getting on panels, anything that I can do, literally anything to support the practice leaders that I directly support, I am focused on 100% of my time. I am their boots on the ground so that they can be focused on leading their projects. Supporting, connecting, promoting the team, of course, is my job, and I am the hunter, I am not the closer, again. So as we go into talking about working with people and the different dynamics there, I like to touch on this. You all definitely have the IQ well covered in this room, but what I would like to talk a little bit about with you is EQ and emotional intelligence, that ability to connect with people. Rule number one, people are going to work with who they like. So that is so important. If you can't connect with a client and give them that confidence in your talent, your ability, and your trustworthiness in delivering their dream, their project, delivering their investment, they're not going to pick you. So that's a really important skill to really try to hone as you guys are getting out there. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Really try to make connections, nurture them, and stay with them. And let's see, continuing there. That leads to the importance of a thorough understanding of market intelligence. If you have a business and your own practice, or you're working within a firm and you're responsible for business development, or looking to advance your career, business development is a great way to do that. You are absolutely going to be most visible to your leadership when you are bringing in work. Knowing your market is a part of this. Knowing your competition is a big part of this. My philosophy is be friends with everyone. Absolutely, we are all part of a community. People change, people shift, and it's great to know what your competitors are doing, what they're experiencing, what they're winning, what they're losing. Understand the market as a whole, not tunnel vision of what you're working on right now. Know your resources. Know what you have to work with within your firm, no matter how large or small. I on several occasions, have had to share that I can't bring 4 middle-aged white men to a meeting with this particular client. We need to mix it up. We need to really look. And I say, I know this client. I know what they're after, what their goals are, and the way the world is going. And we can't look like this anymore. This is not acceptable. So that type of direction is something that you can really be very effective with. And then, of course, most importantly, know your client. Really know them. And so here is where I say the really bad thing. Stop talking about architecture. stop. Talk about them. You absolutely can talk about architecture when it's appropriate, when you're showing, work and different things like that. But what I see, oftentimes, is architects, designers will go back, they'll retract into their comfort zone of what they know, and they want to demonstrate. They want to put 17 buildings in a row on a PowerPoint on a Zoom meeting. That is death. That you lose people. They can't ingest that. And so really find ways to make it about your client, get them talking about themselves, and learn from them. Pay attention, listen, because you'll pick things up if you do this that will tell you how to win, how to nurture the relationship, how to build a strong bond with them. Talk about architecture with your colleagues, with your friends, with your mom, but make your client about your client. So here are a couple of additional articles that I've found helpful over the years. And I guess if you want to take a picture of it or something, you can reference it later. There's lots of, if you Google business development and architecture, there's plenty of things out there. So I'm not quite sure how we're doing on timing, but I just, again, want to thank you so very much. My contact information is here. Thank you to everybody joining online as well. If I can answer questions, if you would like to talk about this in depth or have coffee, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to talk to you, love to help, and really do wish you guys the very, very best as you're entering your careers. Wish you the best in building that strong network to really keep your business strong. So thank you, and with that, I think we can open it up if there's any questions or things anybody would like to discuss. Thank you.
We have many questions. Well, maybe I can start this. Give me a mic. Does this work? Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll kick it off with some questions. Maybe from a student's perspective, let's just say you graduate from the school and you go out, work for a couple of years for an architect, and then you decide, you're a young architect, you want to start your own business. And what's your, you don't have a portfolio yet, you have your work, you have your ideas, but really you don't have any clients or any kind of idea how to even get them. What would be your advice how, a student would start, or is it personal relationships, or, how would they go about not being able to hire a full-time business development person?
Yeah, excellent question. Have mentors, have people that do this well, that you admire, that you look up to, and ask them, talk to them. Start with personal relationships. Look for, even now while you're in school, look to people in the community that you could introduce yourself to, send an email to, see if you can do an informational interview or have coffee. Start to build your network, and then start to go out and attend some events, attend some lectures, attend some panels. See if you can meet people and get in front of them and share what you'd like to do. And I think that's a good, starting with those relationships and really keeping your ear to the ground and keeping a pulse on what's going on in the market will help greatly. Getting a new business off the ground.
Oftentimes, it seems like the discipline of architecture, like the direction that the discipline of architecture is going in, is a different direction than the current market forces are pushing architecture and design. So I was hoping, could you kind of offer some advice on how to negotiate that line between whatever the direction that architects want to go in versus what your clients may want that is not necessarily in that same direction?
Yes, excellent question, and that's maybe not, there's really no concrete answer there, but by knowing your client, by being able to communicate tactfully your reasoning, your your point of view, being flexible to some extent as well. But yeah, the quality of your client will really come into play there with their reasoning and respect for your expertise. That's a huge factor and a very common issue on every level that we run into. I think with every client, to be honest. So I hope that's helpful.
Hi, I had a question about how there might be like a complication where when like networking seems kind of cooperative in the way you're putting it, or like a conflict between cooperation and like competition, because we're also describing sort of competitive environments and how it sort of complicates the desire for a cooperative environment.
Meaning being out at events with other competing architects and firms,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, like inherent in the competition that which you also described.
Yes, so that's an excellent question. So there's different organizations and things you can choose to be a part of. If you go to an AIA event, you're going to be with a bunch of architects and competitors, so those are very valuable, of course, for our greater design community, but that's not a place where you're going to find clients. Finding organizations that are heavier on the development side or civic side, those can typically, the chambers of commerce where, businesses are active members there, you kind of have to hunt and find those opportunities where you can be more client-facing as opposed to industry-facing. Is that good? Okay. Yeah.
So when, different firms obviously have different kind of attitudes towards design and how important it is, or kind of sort of a language in terms of what direction they want to work in. And so they would be very selective in terms of like what client would be a good fit. I think you addressed some of that. How do you maneuver that initially without coming off as just, yeah, we don't want to work with you or rather work with you? Do you just have a very open mind initially to everybody, everything's possible, and then run it back to kind of like discuss it with the team? Or do you go in kind of pre-selecting already, knowing, this is never going to work, so I'm not going to spend a lot of mileage here? How do you maneuver that, and how do you overall strategize that?
Yes, so in my case, I spent 8 or 9 years getting to know all of the design firms in Los Angeles and calling on them, developing friendships and relationships with them, working with them on projects. And so I'm in a kind of unique place where I've been able to send work and maintain the relationship with the client and give work to other firms that would be a better fit for that. For instance, we don't do low-rise, stick-framed, construction on anything really. And so if I can refer that to an architect that does have that expertise, I absolutely will. And then the client is very appreciative. I sent an interior design job to a firm that I worked with when I was fresh out of design school. It was just not a scope that was an HKS project. So I like to really connect dots in that sense, and that's why it's, again, very good to be friends with everybody, because you might team on something, with other firms or smaller firms. So there's always those opportunities, and so I hope that's helpful. And then if something just isn't something that we are into, or doesn't look like a viable opportunity for other reasons, then it's a delicate conversation, but we will just politely, respectfully decline the opportunity, and then you don't really have to, I think, say much more than that at that point. So I've seen that happen a couple times where we've just said, this is not for us. So, yeah.
Hi. I'm wondering, you just mentioned collaboration for a moment, and I don't know if that's something that you're specifically looking for at HKS, or you might have kind of experience to speak to. How do you see sort of collaborative projects come together? Where is the initiation? Is it on the client side? Is it on the design team side? Let's say putting together a collaborative concept, let's say. I'm wondering how you've seen those kind of be formed and how they find work, collaborative practices, or collaborations between different kinds of practices.
Great question. I have people reach out to me all the time saying, hey, we would love to collaborate with you. We would love to work with HKS. We have a very strong portfolio in this. And maybe they're a smaller shop and we could help them do a bigger project and help, build their portfolio, and they can bring this niche that we don't have, being, a larger firm. So I love building those relationships and gathering those connections. We also will take a look, and if there's a particular sector that we maybe don't have the strongest portfolio in, we strategically will say who does and who is, complementary to us that we could bring in. Also, working with women-owned firms, minority-owned firms, those types of things are also wonderful connections and collaborations. Different diverse perspectives is a big, way things are going right now. So we love creating those partnerships, and a lot of clients are demanding that and requiring that as well. They like the juxtaposition of the large and small in many cases. So yeah, I hope that answers that.
Yeah? Okay, sorry. I was just wondering, in line with that, a little bit of, if you could, I guess my question is, how do you go about finding those smaller firms, and what would be a good advice to get noticed?
Finding the smaller firms. So I'll have, we have a lot reach out on LinkedIn, like that kind of professional social media network, and at events, at AIA events, at CIA or CCA, different or I'll meet and they'll say, hey, well, we're a smaller firm, but we really specialize in this. We're really strong in XYZ. And I said, well, that's great. We don't really have that in-house, so we should collaborate sometime. So.
So you were saying before that, that 50% of your time, you're in front of the computer, kind of organizing the connections that you made and things that you need to follow up on and stuff like that. So what kind of software, what kind of tools are you using to do that sort of organization? Because I wouldn't imagine you're just in spreadsheets and Google Calendar. You're probably doing something else.
It's amazing how we just can't ever seem to move away from spreadsheets. I wish that would be dream come true. So there's still a lot of that happening with my teams. We've invested in Salesforce through the pandemic, so that's kind of our main CRM. It's a very robust system. Softwares, and so those are putting, you can always start there, or in Google, save your contacts in a database. If you get a email from somebody that you'd like to stay in contact with, save their contact. Just get in the habit of doing that every day.
Brooke, thank you so much. This was fantastic. It was a pleasure having you in the audience. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.